Wow. Very chill.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Hat Chat Podcast, episode 75, with your hosts, Chris Trott.
Ross Hornby.
And Alex Smith.
I'm not sure he's pronouncing his name correctly. I don't think he's
That's
been
that's an intergalactic name.
All I've ever known him
Have
as.
you thought about that? Have you thought about names and about how they're so defining of a person? And you just
a little bit.
What's your worst name? What would you say is the worst name that you think you've heard? I think we've had this conversation before once.
Probably puns of like rude stuff that isn't.
Puns. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
like bend over and Phil
about,
McGroin.
Trying to think now, like Igrid or something, or like kind of like something with a really sound at the beginning.
Harsh.
like
Or like Eugene. So, I said this last time, and I got some Eugenes.
I don't think. I think that I really
sorry,
dislike celebrity names, like for kids. Usually,
Well, like
usually when I hear a kid's name that's a I mean, maybe that's just me being a bigot because
What's wrong with you? Good old David.
Exactly. What's wrong with a John?
Give us more Johns. We need more Johns in this world.
Nah, but it's just also just how like ridiculous they go. Like it's not even like unusual. Like oh, you don't hear very many Hermiones, you know, but you actually do in certain circles. I imagine probably in the circles that celebrities' kids are in. But you know what I mean. But yeah, I know it's just
named after TV characters. Like everyone's like, oh no, all the Game of Thrones characters are suddenly being named.
God,
Arya, you know, the Ice Queen.
Jesus Christ! Imagine defining.
My daughter's named Ice Queen.
Defining an entire person's like
Ice cream.
Identity.
Ice Cream. Leave her alone.
Yeah, it does pigeonhole you a little bit,
tolerant.
and then I think there is a preconception based on name for sure. Like if you had the same name as a porn star, do you think that affects how you're treated?
Well, I guess so. It depends on if it's like what Candy.
I'd hope not.
Or imagine if Ross was called Mick Blue, for example.
Well, yeah, but people say I look like him.
I know, but
people say I look like Mick Blue.
Let's make it more confusing. Smith isn't called Smith. He's actually called Mick Blue.
Oh, okay. That would be confusing.
Well, less so that. Forget that he knows you or that you look like Mick Blue. I can only think of Mick Blue right now as a porn star.
You know Mick Blue is a porn star and you'll just associate it because his name's the exact same as Mick Blue. That would be an obvious comparison.
It would definitely
if
change
his
how...
name was Mick and you're like, I'm thinking of Mick Hucknall. So I'm thinking of a different Mick.
Mick Hucknall's a weird looking dude nowadays. Have you seen Mick Hucknall?
No, I haven't looked at him.
Have a look at his face. Also, did we mention that finger was by another musician, John Woodburn? I'm not sure.
That was a John.
There's a John. John Woodburn, thank you very much for that very peaceful, very new, fresh fingal. Thanks for sending that in last week. If you'd like to send a fingal in, like John Woodburn, please email it to hatchat@hat-filmed.com.
Yes, fingerless
say that.
Gusto.
I'm trying to make
it's
a point
horrible to
here,
laugh
but
at somebody.
We've moved on to John. What was his name?
Look at Mick Hucknall's face.
Hucknall.
Look how weird Mick Hucknall looks. He looks like a character. This is so mean, but he looks like a character that you'd put in like one of those sort of early 90s TV shows.
Yeah. I was going to say, he's from Simply Red. Just for anyone who is like...
Context.
And what the hell is Simply Red? God,
Simply Red do songs like what's the most common? What's the one that everyone knows? I love Simply Red. It's a great band.
Jesus Christ, I'm drawing a blank.
Let me
coming
hold you if I find all I can make you.
Holding back the years.
Mick Hucknall.
Holding back the years. Oh, right, okay. Is that a recent photo?
That's not recent. That's not recent.
I mean, that's not. I mean, this is a podcast, so anyone listening.
I mean, look, let me just.
He's a frizzy gingerhead dude.
I'm gonna put this in.
Oh, okay. I found one.
Okay.
And we're just slating someone's appearances.
Well,
we are on a podcast as well.
So like, yeah, exactly. It's going to involve some real descriptions.
There he is.
I mean, how old is he? Give me an age.
I don't know.
Late 50s or 60s.
But look how much he's changed. I put a post in Just Hats that shows you the difference.
Yeah, I see. Mick Hucknall age.
He's 60. He's only 60.
He's 61, and yeah, I mean,
you know what?
He looks like a 61. He's still got all his hair, so that's pretty good, right? That's
Yeah.
Thing is, I think he was always made fun of his looks, and I'm not sure why specifically. But
No, he's a good-looking guy, I think, in that right-hand frame of what's being shown there.
Right, well, there he looks
It's
probably
crazy now. But, I mean,
34.
it was a thing. But yeah, we can move on from the
Mick
the visual
Hucknall. I was just
bullying
saying,
of Mick Hucknall.
if his name was Mick, that's the one I'm thinking of. If you're thinking of Mick,
if his name was Mick Blue,
then you're clearly very attentive to porn star names.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's gonna go around.
Sucks.
I feel like Smith's experience being Alex Smith would be very different to his experience being Mick Blue in secondary school and beyond. He'd be like, as soon as people found out that Mick Blue is like this prolific porn star and it's the same name that your friend has and this guy in school has, come on, that would
be
so names are important, Smith, is to answer your question.
What do you think? Do you think that having a big penis kind of like what do you think are the things that have to happen to a person? Yeah, obviously I need the experts on this.
You went straight to big penis. What is that?
Do you think that like what are the things that happen to you in life? Do you think for you to become a male porn star, right? Because I was just thinking, like, say I was called Mick Blue, like it doesn't mean that I'm going to become a porn star, right?
No, because
far
he's
from
already
it.
a porn star.
He is now. But I mean, imagine the journey that Mick Blue's been on in terms of like, at some point he went, I've got a really big dick, and like, I mean, I'm not doing anything else. I might as well try and make a career in porn, you know? Like, I think Louis Theroux's done a couple of documentaries.
Yeah, he has, and they tend to be, the guys he speaks to tend to be quite traumatized and lonely, and just like, the girls don't really stick around afterwards, and they don't talk to me, but
I remember
it's
that.
a great job. You know, I'm lucky to do it. But he was just really, quite morose about it all. And very kind of depressed, because he was literally just used as an object. Used as just a dick. He wasn't supposed to be talked to. He was there as a prop, and that was his job.
But then, like, you could extrapolate that feeling from any job, though. You know, like manual labor, you can think yourself as you're just a tool.
You're just a tool, exactly. But he was. I think he was in that documentary that Louis Theroux covers. He was talking about how he had no real connection with these women, but he really enjoyed his time with them. So it was more of a case if they didn't want him, they were there for work, and there was a kind of a disconnect there. But I mean, I'm sure that's not a case for all.
Well, I mean, surely in that line of work, that's quite problematic thinking in that line of work, because you almost want people to be all business, because you're just like, business.
But this is where, and then
you're looking for love in the place of work,
becoming actual partners and getting married and having kids, and then maintaining that job, which the complexities in that. It's very interesting documentary covers, but there are also
I found a Q&A with him. This might have some insight for you.
Is this Mick Blue though?
Mick Blue,
because the one in Louis Theroux isn't Mick Blue. Just saying.
No, but I imagine there's a lot of similarities. What kind of guy were you back in high school in Austria? He's Austrian. Who did you hang out with / date? He was a very normal guy with a big sex drive, and he had a little smiley face emoji there. I started masturbating at the age of 12, which I feel like is like the second thing he states. And ever since I started, I couldn't stop. It was even so bad that every time I came home from school, the first thing I did was masturbate before I could focus on homework. Smiley face emoji.
Sounds like an addiction.
When it came to girls, I was more like the shy guy. Unlike my best friend back in Graz, where I'm from, I dated regular girls back then, as opposed to irregular.
Did you find my... No.
Since I was 18, I was always in a steady relationship. And were you a fan of porn before you got into the industry? He says, I was a huge porn fan and still am.
Porn addict.
His first one was 16. He rented it from a video rental store, so he just went straight in there at 16 and rented one. You don't remember most of the porn stars he used to love? What? Okay, full on. Next picture I just saw was anal penetration.
Oh, for God's sake!
In the middle of this Q&A. What website am I on?
Well, you're on the right site. Like, you're tickling the edge there, because
all right, I'm trying to
with a porn star.
This paragraph is split above and below this anal penetration image, so I'm trying to focus. I think what shaped you into taking this anal penetration into the sexually strong man that you see in porno?
Yeah.
His genetics, he says, and his long experience in the adult industry. I think he was very, very horny and just decided to take it up as a profession. I think that was it.
Right.
His
Okay.
genetics.
Well, yeah.
He was born for porn. Is that what you're
born
saying?
for porn. Well, he was
Porn
born into
free.
it. I was born into it. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
watching porn at a very young age.
Nothing to do with his name, which is probably a stage name, I imagine, as well.
But isn't there that guy? There is a
Gotta be,
guy
right?
who is famous for having like a log of a cock, like a giant. Like
I'm
it
sure
dips
there's a
into the
few.
toilet bowl, kind of like. But he isn't in porn. He's just known for having like a giant sausage dong, and that's only because like there was reports that he was like being searched in an airport and accidentally the
reports.
yeah.
What do you mean?
Well,
there were reports.
he mentioned it in an
Which
interview.
scientific body?
Basically, they were searching. Oh, mate, you're stowing something away, and then they pat him down, and they're just.
Is that a Yule log you got stowed down there?
Why are you storing Yule logs? Is that an explosive? Oh God,
That's a stick of dynamite. That is.
Jesus Christ, this guy. But he wasn't. I don't think he's in porn. He's not a very attractive person.
So you're just talking about a guy with a
rides on the
massive
fact that
dick.
He has a giant
Right.
cock, and it's
Right.
like. And then the next thing is that important? And how many of your friends' dicks have you seen?
Quite a few.
I've seen enough.
It doesn't affect them. It depends on the encounters you have, isn't it? If it's a dick first encounter, maybe, but usually it's not. Usually it's not the penis that you see first, is it? Right. It's the person. So really, it doesn't
eyes up here
hugely matter until
not, but like
it does, I suppose. But
people get fixated on it, don't they obsess over the
Men
idea
do,
of large penises. We talk
Men
about
do,
them all the time,
Men
for
do,
shits and giggles.
Yeah.
But like, it shouldn't really be something you worry about because how often do you really encounter
my own penis? As briefly as possible.
Often,
there's one,
and I'm scared of it.
Yeah, when I stand up to pee, I wear like this little like skirt around my midriff, so I don't have to see my penis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I've got a similar contraption. It's like a belt with like 2 walls either side.
Oh wow!
So you can't see.
Like a cock visor.
Yeah,
it's like
cock blinkers.
It's visor down. Yes, I can look safely. Brilliant. I'm not on target. It's all around the bowl. It's on the text.
Keeps me focused. Stops me from getting startled.
Eyes on the prize. Come on. Don't focus on the other ones.
Small or big.
But there's nothing to do with the hypotheticals that we've got.
Nothing to do with it at all. No, we've got off track.
But however, I was looking at hypotheticals today, Smith, and like there was a lot of philosophical questions about does a name change a person and our perception of people. So you kind of answered that one already.
Oh shit! Really? I didn't even read that question.
It's not on the list. I was looking through. It wasn't good enough. But we talked about
I mean, it's not that interesting. That's what I was going to say. I was just like, what? Maybe I subconsciously read it.
The thing that came up in the poll to our patrons, thank you, patron, for voting on this week's hypotheticals. If you had to support the flat Earth theory in a debate, what would you say? Like a convincing argument to say that the flat Earth is flat. I mean, we made a whole song on it.
I know we did. Well, maybe we'd play the song in the background. Start with the song. We're like, well, I made this song, and it's not a joke. It may sound jokey.
Yeah.
But every word...
Like, I think we raised a couple of... This was literally the prompt for the Flat Earth song. Like, we were trying to think of, like, right, what would be some stupid ways to suggest that we know the world is flat? And, like, so, like, the line about...
stick on the floor.
Put a really long stick on the ground. Yeah. That bitch stayed flat because the Earth's not round was amazing, you know?
Yeah.
But no, there are actually some quite easy ways you can do it. You know, there's a reason you can't see more than sort of 15 miles across the seas because, you know, the curvature of the Earth makes the same reasons sort of boats disappear behind the horizon and things like that. It's there's quite a few easy ways to verify. That's the problem. The
main argument, not just that, you've never been up there and seen it with your own eyes. That's what they tend to say, right?
Yeah.
It's very much you haven't seen it with your own eyes, therefore you can't prove it. And that's it. That's what
basically you exploit the fact that not everyone is a scientist and willing to go do tests and experiments for themselves. So all you have to do is sound convincing enough to disprove the facts that are out there. That's
all you've got to do is be willing to lead a band of idiots, which is essentially what it is. It's just whoever fancies trying to do it. What you'd say, I think, yeah, exactly. They're all just crackpots. Like, I would double down and say, hell. Yeah, you can see these pictures they take from space. Yeah, you can see the stuff, you know, that they say why this happens. You know, oh yeah, that thing will disappear behind the horizon at this time because of this, all that sort of stuff. but the thing is, right, is that we're being controlled to the point that our perceptions, we're being influenced, so that when we see something, like for example, we know that light enters the eye upside down and then is flipped in our brain, right? That's something that happens. Light enters the eye and the image is flipped in our head to allow us to
when
perceive.
It hits the back of your eye, yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that is happening, but to a point where we've been almost brainwashed, right? So like when you're very, very young, like sort of before the ages of about 3, where you start to form proper memories, we're brainwashed into thinking like that when you perceive certain objects like the earth, spheres and things like that, you're brainwashed into thinking what is flat is in fact round and is in fact spherical, like it's about, not everyone sees colors the same way. So, you might see a certain color of green a certain way, and you might see it, another person might see it a different way, but we both call it green because that's our reference point. We're seeing the world as a sphere because that is what we are told at a very, very young age to how to perceive, the same way that we don't question the fact that our brain and our eyes have to flip an image when the light comes in. Like all these things, you just double down on all of these pseudo truths in order to baffle a person into sort of going, yeah, you're right. Yeah. No, we're just being lied to. Ultimately, they want to know that they are the person that has the right idea about something. So all you have to do is give them enough ammunition to prove that they feel right.
The more questions that are asked, the more you have to dismantle bigger and bigger companies, and
they run out of
things.
Yeah.
So it starts off with like disproving the local smart guy, and then it's like, well, but NASA said, and now you have to dismantle NASA as a concept. It's like, well, now they're controlling our thoughts, and they have an agenda, blah blah blah, and the government that's also saying that, and all the textbooks that are in schools. It's like, fuck me, you have to go so far with it to disprove flat Earth theory.
Yeah. We can't even organize, like trying to battle climate change. Why on earth do you think we'd be capable of organizing a grand conspiracy like that?
Well, that's it. Yeah, I think that's the idea, isn't it? Like, what are they hiding? What's the overall agenda there? Focus on something else, something more tangible, rather than is the world flat? Have you been on a plane before? Have you traveled to another part of the country? Have you been on a boat? Like, yeah, it's so hard to convince. I mean, I guess it's just more of a case of you just have to keep, like dumbing them down with more kind of.
I will say though, like going on a plane, sometimes I get a bit of a Truman Show effect.
Oh yeah.
I think I've been traumatized.
It's hard to believe,
but it's hard to believe because it's an unfathomable thing, really, for a human to go up in the sky like 10,000 feet beyond, and say that you're going across the planet, across the ocean.
You've seen planes take off, though, right? In real life, you've witnessed it happen.
Yeah,
but
they're
stood outside and seen
holograms
go from and then go up.
Yeah.
Holograms. Amazing if that's hologram.
I mean, there's a disconnect though, right? When you're like, you're filled with like an anxiety, and like when it's so unbelievable that you're witnessing and experiencing it in the seat. Like for example, when I was in the Masai Mara in Kenya, and I was just like sat in this Jeep, and then I opened the door, and it's just this completely flat, really flat, like flat Earth flat desert with these tiny little shrubs that just like appear from nothing. It's not surrounded by shrubs or anything, but they're just like such isolated things. It looked like someone had placed terrain like sporadically around. It just looks so unreal that I couldn't process. It's like, this doesn't seem real. I had a massive disconnect at the time. I was like, God, like this can't be real at all. Am I dreaming, or is this set up for me? Like,
yeah, I'd say similar things from when you see, I don't know, Hollywood films or like films that are set in New York. You go to New York and you're like, oh shit, this is where they filmed that thing. My only experience of that before is television or film.
Yeah.
And so like there is a surreal element to it, and it's just like, oh shit, I'm seeing this in real life. This is an actual thing. This is on the other side of the world, but I'm here. Like that's when it's like a disbelief. But once you've been to these places, you have an understanding of it. You kind of it's a bit more kind of these things exist.
And the more you think about it, the more ridiculous the concept of like, this is all fake to appease me or for me to stay in the illusion kind of thing. Because it's like, that's way too much effort for essentially watching a guy play Final Fantasy 14 for the majority of his waking hours. That's not a good show to watch.
There'll be a sense of arrogance to feel like you were Truman in your own world.
Yeah, there is.
And an individualism that is just so unbelievable. That maybe that's it goes full circle. It's so unbelievable that it could be true.
Yeah, I think so.
I think
when you think about the actual camera setup, goddamn.
A lot of these like sort of societal and cultural trends of like radicalization of this whole conspiracy things that are going on at the moment, and people believing that, you know, there must be some grand conspiracy or whatever going on.
JFK's coming back, mate.
I think it's just all it's all like spin-offs from human emotions, right? So there are different reasons things happen, and I think that one of the ones, you know, you could say it's fear. You know, they don't want to believe that something like a pandemic could happen. You know, they don't want to believe because they're scared that this reality is now upon them, right? This doesn't happen to me. This doesn't happen to my country. You know, there's that. And then there's also things, you know, like people wanting to be right, be in control, the need for safety. I think, like you said about like how when you travel around and you start seeing these places and you're like, oh shit, this exists, this happens, you know, like New York is like this, you know, rural England is like this other Canadian wilderness is like this. I think the thing with that is it opens your mind, but it also puts more on you to consider, right? To more on you to think like, shit, these people are real, you know, like this is another real thing, another element of my existence to take on and process as part of what I do and how I think, right? So like, and so that's another thing that people sometimes resist when they feel like they're going to be overwhelmed by culture or by thoughts or something that's going to take them outside their comfort zone. Like, you know, the familiar is very comforting, and if you're not emotionally capable of taking on a lot and being able to work through that, then you are going to naturally resist you know, new information because it challenges you and makes you have to reassess. It is, so
it's like a lack of relatability as well to like something I like to think of, or kind of fucks in my head a bit when you see like black and white photos from, you know, years and years and years ago in a time that you can't really comprehend, or during wartime and stuff. I
can't
relate
live without color like that.
And it's just and obviously you only see it in black and white. So your own reference of this is black and white. It's this old, like
dreary
an era you can't really feel like you've ever lived in. And so to take that as something you can take fully seriously and relate to and be real, I can imagine there's a lot of people who resist that and just say, well, you know, that would never happen to me. And then when something crazy like a pandemic happens and you're living through it and you don't really feel like those images that you've seen of previous pandemics, it's hard to comprehend. So
definitely.
I think that's quite an interesting way to think about those things, because it's like when you watch period dramas and stuff, and like you're like, God, did you really dress like this? Were they all horses? Like you start thinking of the intricacies of there an irrigation system, like what they got going on in the city. Like, was that always there? Is that there now in like Bristol? Because I looked at some really old shots of Bristol. I don't know if you saw that too as well, Trott, of the of Queen Square. This was only like 20 years ago when they had like a dual carriageway.
I'll try and find it.
And things like that, where it's just like, oh shit, man, like I couldn't picture that now. Obviously,
I haven't seen that. I'd like
there are
to
loads
see
of
that.
other like kind of archaic imagery of this city that we're from, that you suddenly start to piece these puzzles together, piece it all together, and you're like, oh shit, like that's amazing to see it in this way, in this form after war as well. Buildings are completely destroyed and kind of like crumbling rooftops and stuff. It's just a reality we've never had to live through. So when that kind of thing does eventually happen, I imagine there is resistance, because people don't. You only ever experience this in old photos and books and things that just feel like fiction.
And that's what Remembrance Sunday is about. It's not about being pro-war. It's about remembering what the kind of hell war is and what it does to people, and never forgetting that we do not want war ever.
No. Exactly.
So, but unfortunately, it gets hijacked somewhat into nationalism a lot of the time, which is total bullshit. Because I'm sure none of the people that died ever wanted to go back to war.
No.
Yeah, that's crazy. What an image.
So it's like the bridge there connects to the roundabout.
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
That is absolutely
that road
bonkers.
system does make sense to a degree, and like I can see how that works. But
they like to pedestrianize
now it's all
this
one-way
area.
systems, and it's been.
That's so crazy. There was a freaking car. I mean, I guess the cars were a bit slower.
That's Queen Square in the background there.
But I think it goes alongside that. Yeah. I can't relate to an area that I haven't seen before, or an era that I've never experienced.
It's nice there, but obviously it's not all built up at that point.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Excuse me. Yeah, it was very open. Now it's closed off and pedestrianised, which you could argue is better. Not if you want to travel through Bristol, though, in a car.
Yes,
So.
it's all slowly crumbling away in that sense. All one-way systems. Certain cars won't be allowed to drive there. All bikes one day.
And
scooters, probably.
Fucking scooters.
Shall we move on?
Blocks of lithium.
To our second question.
Do we need to run that ad?
Oh, yeah, that's true. So before we go any further, of course, if you are listening on our Patreon version, you're getting it ad-free. And also, you may just not get an ad, but we'll see you in a second. Well, ding dong, we're back. Welcome.
Nice.
Thank you for supporting us on Patreon. If you have been, appreciate that you are.
We appreciate it.
Listening to it. There.
Keeps
anyway,
this podcast running.
The second most voted hypothetical, which I think is worth exploring. I made it up. I actually made this one up.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So I'm glad they voted for it.
Here we go.
20 years from now, okay? Providing the planet doesn't explode, Zuckerberg's metaverse is everything he wanted it to be. Okay?
Right.
Would you take part? Or if not, what would it need to become for you to be a part of it?
Better than real life.
You need to explain what his mission is so that it's clear for everyone and me.
The metaverse, I believe, right now is very rudimentary, right? They've got their Oculus, which is now no longer the Oculus. It's just the thing. I don't know what they're calling it now.
The goggles.
Is it the metaverse?
Goggles?
But anyway, they're amalgamating all the fucking data mining they've done on Facebook, and they're trying to put that in your periphery so that they can put ads on essentially your augmented reality. But at the same time, mask that, but this might be quite biased, mask that behind really cool and revolutionary technology that will enhance your life for sure in a positive way.
Okay.
Definitely not exploiting you for money. So what are your thoughts on this?
First of all, I think we will try it. I think we will, just because, I mean, in the nature of our company and what we do, like with gaming and technology, we've already tried VR stuff. We've had great success with some of our VR videos. the ones where we try to kill ourselves.
It's really good. But I will say, it's like that freeing, no cables gameplay is great.
As the tech improves, we're going to want to try it.
Yeah.
I was going to say the only good thing I'd say is that I'm surprised at how good Facebook's hardware that's coming out. Like the Quest 2, like you say, is really decent. You get quite a good device. I still think that VR tech is miles away from being easy to use or comfortable for any period of time. That they need to be. HTC, I think, just released some really stupid looking glasses that are like meant to be for like relaxation. So instead of just sitting in a garden or lying on your bed with the lights out for a bit, you can put 2 giant fucking screens on your eyes instead and really relax.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Sweat.
I don't know what I saw the email last night and I was just looking at it. I'm like, what the fuck are these? And I'm like, oh, finally, somebody made some VR that's like a pair of glasses rather than, strapping a goddamn heater to your face. Like, no, it's some bullshit product that's not it's neither going to be a good VR device or something you'll actually want to use. As far as I can tell, it seems stupid. I'd like to try it though, of course. Yeah, we're all tech fans. We all like to try new things, especially screen technology, because that literally displays things, which is, I mean, without screen technology, we wouldn't have a job ultimately.
I saw a good Twitter
thread.
thread.
Intent, though?
I will say though, just finishing it,
I
think that over the next few years, perhaps a few more, they may want to develop metaverse, which I know just isn't Facebook. It's all of the products that Facebook own, which are very popular. So just thinking that it's Facebook and nobody gives a shit about Facebook anymore, it's dumb because Instagram is still massive. I think they own WhatsApp as well. Do they?
Yeah.
However, I do think that we young people, between the ages of like 15 to let's say mid 30s 40s, people are going to stop using social media as much. I think that people are going to reduce the amount they're doing, because I think everyone is realizing how shit it makes everybody feel, and how ultimately
it's education in terms of if you've grown up using these platforms, more about them. Whereas the issue Facebook has now is that people who don't really know what they're doing online are using it, posting all sorts of shit, and then reposting other stuff, joining groups that are kind of questionable, signing up to things, getting scammed. Like these people who don't really know what they're doing online. So like you say, like I feel like the younger generations will be able to pick and choose, knowing full well what they're doing.
And I think people are adverse to. I think there's a bit of a false economy going on. So obviously, there's all of this valuation of massive tech companies. It happened over the last 10 years of companies being sold for $1 billion, then $2 billion, then $3 billion, then $20 billion. There's all of this crazy speculation ultimately on the value of data. So everyone's buying shitloads of data. That's mainly why companies like WhatsApp are getting bought, because they have huge user bases, right? So they have tons of users that can then be exploited through the platforms of the person buying that user base. Anyway, so I think that at the moment people are bidding just up and up and up because they feel like that's what it's going to be worth. But at a certain point, I think that users have always avoided monetization methodology, right? So like ads and shit like that, you're always looking for a new platform that has less monetization, less barriers to access, right? Like, I think that users are naturally resistant to, like, the reason we all stopped using Facebook is because we realized it was no longer showing us stuff that our friends were doing. It was now starting to show us like all this shit we didn't care about, like so-and-so's friend posted baby, and you don't even know who this person is, and you've got like pictures of babies coming up in your timeline and stuff like this. I think that it became a less useful tool and just became about attention grabbing for the intention of serving ads. And I think that's where people naturally start to resist using a platform. Therefore, if Meta starts leveraging and monetizing their platforms more and more and more, which is what they're going to have to do, they'll lose users. People will move away to whatever new platform comes out in a few years' time, like something like Twitch or something like Discord, where you're not encouraged or needed to buy into anything. You very look how good Discord is for a free service. Like it's slowly adding more monetization for things like server upgrades and boosts and shit, but like it doesn't make a huge amount of money, and the money that they rely on is this data speculation. So I think one day in the next 10 years, we may have sort of almost a bubble burst on all of this money that's sloshing around because these platforms will fail to make it back. I think that the users will migrate away when they start to try and leverage this user data that they've built up by spending huge amounts of money. I think that monetization will drive users away and reduce the actual value, the leverageable value of that user base.
Because I feel like it's almost the opposite, because I feel like people are either just accepting or becoming numb to adverts to the point where it's literally passive. So like
cable on
but then the advert is not having an effect then, and therefore the spend reduces because return on that advertising platform.
Some of these things are subliminal. You've heard of a new product through a means which you're flicking through.
That's a form of advertising. That's like radio ads. It's like a presence, but it isn't necessarily a call to action. There are other elements of advertising that advertisers will rely on in order to make so the value of those ads will go down. Just like with YouTube, how many YouTubers have we seen move more to Twitch because the monetization is just shit on YouTube. Everyone gets tons of ads now, and creators get paid barely anything. So it's just a lose-lose for everybody. Which, again, it's about how much you can get paid.
I do feel like especially on YouTube, when it comes to like even for when we've done ads and stuff. When we first started doing them, we came up against a lot of resistance from our audience. A lot of people were like, "Oh, I can't believe you're selling out. You're doing an ad." When it's like, obviously we're doing it because we know that we kind of need to do it because this is what funds what we're doing. So it is kind of it's difficult for us to be like, well, we want to reject some of these things, but we also want to make sure we're keeping our audience happy. Whereas now it's become more of a passive thing where it's just like, I think the audience that you grow accepts that, yes, you will need to take a couple of ads here and there because this is just the way creators can run on these platforms. So I'm guessing these social medias are kind of very reliant on people who make content for them. And that's where it then gains the trust of an audience.
But then also in that situation where you're doing a sponsored deal, the platform is not making any money there because YouTube is not
passively.
Just through views.
Yeah,
they are,
click rate and clicking on to other stuff.
But the value of their platform doesn't increase based on as in like because the advertiser can go straight to the creator.
Yeah.
It's not like they're buying Google Ads space instead, which would be a much better thing for YouTube. If instead of that creator going that product going direct to the creator, if the product instead went to YouTube and said, "Hi, we want to advertise NVIDIA graphics cards," and they'll go, "Okay, great," and that's how they'll make the money and make their platform seem like the way to access users. But in reality, the creator is the way to access the users in that example.
Yeah. But through those means, it's just like there's always ads on our videos. Like it depends on whether the person chooses to turn ads off and only accept brand deals, I guess.
And it helps when you have a relationship
in that scenario still.
Yeah, we have a relationship hopefully with our audience where we're just like, we're going to do this ad. You don't have to buy it.
Yeah,
there is no expectation.
It's down to us choosing what we also enjoy and things that we're happy with, rather than taking every Shadow Legends, where it is deal that gets chucked our way. It's like
or that tea that Kim Kardashian sold and made people shit themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
We probably wouldn't sell that, or if we did, we'd be like, this tea makes you shit yourself. Is that something you want?
Drink up.
Sip, sip, sip.
But anyway, going back to the point of meta and the whole,
yes, please.
Rather than ads, but it's very much intrinsically part of it. I think we're kind of going that way anyway. It's just whether, like Smith says, these companies keep their funds going to be able to push it. Essentially, it's like a pipe dream of, much like all these billionaire companies, it's like their projected future and their nerd dream, essentially, to live out either Star Trek for themselves or be in the expanse for fucking Bezos, or be the first frontier to Mars like Elon Musk. But essentially,
I think
they're
going to have to do, how internet companies give you routers, and then they just then you're signed up to a subscription package, right?
Yeah.
I think their probably best bet is to give people headsets, because I don't think you could convince a lot of people to go out and buy a VR headset, because they're quite expensive. They are bulky, annoying to wear. Obviously they made one which doesn't need wires anymore, which is fantastic. That's kind of where the tech should be going. But I feel like it's still a struggle to get into that industry or into that format, because I don't like putting a fucking headset on.
No, I mean,
it's fine for a little bit, but
we're all enthusiasts, right?
Into the world, I don't think I would bother for a long period of time.
We're a general demographic that's willing to try these sorts of things, and we're relatively savvy with tech, but not buying every new thing that comes out for VR. I feel like it's, even for us, it's a real barrier to sustain having that thing on your head. So they need to fundamentally shift what VR tech is in order for Meta to even take off at all. No one's going to be wearing Oculus Quest 2s to live in a different life, essentially surrounded by whatever Meta wants to put in front of
it doesn't provide that feeling either.
No.
It is nowhere near the level of feeling required. So to answer the question, of what would it take? I mean, it would have to be better than real life, because I don't know. I think they imagine that people hate going outside or something, because the way they're this is it. This is just where you want to hang out all the time. Don't get me wrong. I love coming in the evenings and jumping on Discord and playing games in the evening. But if it's sunny outside, I'm going to go outside, because that is so much more real than a computer feels. I can't do certain stuff. So, when I want to fly a jet or play a competitive shooter, obviously I can't do that outside. So I'm going to come and play on my computer. But for me to want to feel like I'm in a world, oh, hey guys, and the fucking stuff they showed in whatever Facebook's annual briefing shit is called, and they had one of the characters was floating around in 0G, and I'm like, how is that replicated in VR? That is not. It's just gonna make you feel motion sick.
That where they were going, oh yeah, we're just it's a VR image, or some. Was it? They were picking some graffiti off a wall and hey, look at this! It's in augmented reality and it was floating around. It's who the fuck's gonna do that?
Exactly. Exactly. They couldn't even think.
Bollocks. No one gives a
exactly.
Shit about. People want to go on there, and one thing that I would be impressed by is if I could walk around my flat and I can still see everything in my flat perfectly, but there's VR elements. But like you say, people saying in the chat as well, augmented reality stuff. I think that is an interesting element. But and maybe
only
if
you can get it in something like this format.
Exactly, in that format. But also just it would be nice in winter if you were okay, it's really dark and dingy. If you whacked them on and it was sunny inside your flat, that would be fucking cool. That would be where it's starting to make a change, where it's this is positive. This is making me feel better.
Yeah, exactly.
But like you say, like, and also the way the governments are acting about people being healthier and stuff, I don't think they're going to want everyone to just stay inside these VR goggles. And it's more of a push for people to go outside, be healthy, cycle and stuff more. And I just feel like that's going to be more of a focus. I don't think there's going to be as much.
Yeah,
of a push
it kind of goes against that.
Just stay inside and just look at your screens, which they already advise you not to do.
Yeah,
there's a thing on your phone now telling you how much screen time you spent, so you feel guilty for how long you've looked at screens.
Yeah, I'm fucking glad for
that
that
thing.
thing. I am glad that I think this, because it really is eye-opening. Like, I think like mine's definitely reduced since I started paying attention to it. Thank you. But yeah, it is like I think I spend like 3.5 hours or up to 4 hours a day looking at my screen, and I mean, Jesus Christ, 4 hours of a day of my life. I don't have endless days, and you're just like, yes, it's a device that you interact with like a lot of your like life stuff with, you know, you can order food on it now, you can look at photos, you can listen to music, all that sort of stuff. But like my dad sometimes gets like 7 hours screen time, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, Dad, you need to do something. Like,
it must depend on what they're using it for. Because if it's like a video in the background or whatever, like,
no, he just like reads shit on it.
Screen time counts if you're looking at it, right?
Yeah. Imagine my level of political paranoia jacked up like 5 times. That's my dad.
Reading every story possible.
Literally, like, I mean, I can just see it like ruining his mind. Like, you know, he does it from a place of care, and he does it from a place of interest. You know, like, it is interesting to look at politics. But it's just, that's it. We're just monkeys at the end of the day. We're very smart monkeys, and little monkey brain can't take on that much shit. You know, and it's just tough. You need to be so strong mentally to not let it give you anxiety, frankly, and it just does.
Absolutely.
So it'd be a tough sell for the meta thing. It'd be very interesting. I mean,
it just I don't want to live in these weird worlds.
Second Life.
What's it called? Second
Life.
Yeah. I think it was like none of those have really appealed to me in a big way.
Well, we've lived in MMOs, you know, like we've done that. We have done these things. We've played MMOs for a long time. It feels like you've lived there, you know, like we've used VR. We've been part of teamwork scenarios, guilds, all of these social structures within games, which is awesome. And I loved it, you know, but I don't need to live in Mark Zuckerberg's fucking weird virtual world. All right. I don't want to live in fucking Reboot, you know, and we don't have to. And it's just hilarious to hear them say this shit, and they're just like, you're gonna fucking love this. And it's just like, fuck you, no, I'm not. Yes, I know you have all my fucking data. Yes, I know you can probably predict everything I want. But like, at the end of the day, I'm not gonna be hanging out with the Zuck and his other psychopathic sycophants, you know, like fucking around on metaverse. Eat shit, you know? Like,
I think this whole idea is coming out of society that really is starting to reject that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we are just coming out of lockdown, hating the idea of sitting in a room and trying to be elsewhere. Exactly.
I just feel it's so badly timed. Yeah.
And like COP26 is happening right now. We're thinking more about our planet and caring about it than ever, I think. Whether the big corporations do anything about it is irrespective. The younger generations are clearly crying out. Like, we're sick of this and the way it's run. I think more than ever, we actually want to experience the world for what it is, rather than it's fucked, so let's put these visors on and pretend it's not there anymore and go back to a better time.
It's just like,
nice, isn't it?
What?
Yeah, okay, it's already fucked. Okay, let's go into the metaverse when we can bring dinosaurs back.
But the sad thing is, I think that it will be, when the technology gets to that point, it will be embraced in a big way, I imagine.
Yeah,
like, you know, it's just the fact that right now I don't feel like it's something that
we should be focusing on.
Put on, or like,
exactly,
we should be focusing
exactly.
on.
Exactly. Like, as a kid, I dreamt about virtual reality. Until very recently, I thought about how amazing it was going to be in a virtual world. You know, like, I'm the kind of guy that would be uploaded to a computer if I knew that would work. In, you know, when I die, you know, that thing.
Yeah.
But like recently, exactly, I've just thought the same thing. I'm like, yes, those technologies will be great when they're available, and yes, you know, people who are severely disabled would benefit from them massively, hopefully, because it would allow them to feel, you know, however they want to feel again, and that would be fantastic. But yeah, right now, I don't need these asshole billionaires offering me this product. No,
that's the problem.
Way.
It always comes with
so
a caveat.
Timed. Yeah,
the only people who are able to afford such a revolutionary technology to give to the masses is someone with an agenda, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
the worst thing is they didn't really predict how social media would end up how it is today. So with this kind of technology as well, like they're not really thinking of how it's going to impact society. Whereas
they
now
weren't doing it for a good
Facebook
cause.
is responsible for all sorts of fucking crazy shit and the craziest people getting together and just doing weird QAnon shit, like waiting outside the place where JFK died for his son
return.
to appear. That was the weirdest thing I've ever fucking seen. But like, I mean, you're always going to get these groups of people, but like, the more space you give them, it's just the more legitimacy you give them as well. And it's just like, that's where it's out of whack.
Imagine giving them the metaverse where they could literally inflate their avatars to 300 times the size, give them like a godlike halo on top, and say they're the second coming of Christ. So there you go. Anyway, that's enough of a meta. Let's round this off with some funny news.
Yeah.
Let's see. What is that? Did you find anything hilarious? This is from Adam. What's this?
There is one sent in by a listener called Adam. Thank you, Adam. There's also a little slideshow. So Adam is a junior aircraft engineer, and I'm reading this out for Smith's benefit. They often listen to the pod in the hangar and get a good laugh. I've included some pictures, which at the very least I thought Smith would find cool. Here you go, Smith. You ready?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's very cool. That's pretty damn cool. What is it? Is it any sort
it's
of
old school, man. These are like
shit, nice.
They
I
work
wonder
there.
if this is this Fleet Air Arm Museum?
There they are.
You know?
They're having a great time looking.
Adam is
well, I
one of
hope
them.
you enjoy the podcast.
So,
they listen to the
like
podcast
a proper
in this
little
hangar.
like sending in. Well, you know, if anybody else is listening and you've got some photos of yourself you want to send in, we can show them to the world.
Indeed,
if you want, if you want to, you know.
Yeah,
if you're listening, you can just hear us.
It looks very cool.
Excited about it.
So anyway, they sent in this completely irrelevant but nonetheless funny news article. Mum claims speed of aggressive Aldi cashier left her crying and shaking. So
it's got to be a joke, isn't it?
The supermarket chain is known for its speedy checkout. Yeah.
Have you been to Aldi?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They are quick.
Yeah, I mean,
I kind of like that. I had somebody in a Tesco today, which, by the way, I was in. Somebody asked in chat earlier on, Smith, were you in a Tesco earlier? Yes, that was probably me.
I saw you. Caught you in line.
Giving everyone my best. Don't talk to me eyes over my mask.
Fuck off.
And silently seething at people who are clearly have something that makes them cough like crazy and they're not wearing a fucking mask in a supermarket. Like, I know it's probably something they've, you know, half the time it's like, I know it's just a flu, I've had a test. And I'm like, all right.
You bastard.
But like people walking around and I saw somebody working in the Tesco in central Bristol the other day who had the worst fucking cough, which I'm guessing was probably because his co-workers weren't giving him any dodgy looks. I'm guessing it's probably just a flu or something, but like he wasn't wearing a mask and he was coughing super hard. Like, just it just blows my mind that we're in a fucking pandemic. I know some people aren't wearing masks. I know that's up to your own discretion, whatever. I still wear a fucking mask when I go into a supermarket. It's not that difficult. Loads of doctors and scientists are saying it's a good idea. I'm just going to fucking do it, right? So I do that. I get that some people might not want to, might not have remembered to bring their mask, all that shit. I don't judge you if you walk in without one. But when you've got a fucking cough and you don't wear a mask in a supermarket, you actively piss me off. So I'm walking around Tesco seething a little bit of people doing that every so often. And I get to the end of the checkout and the checkout person is wearing a mask. That's not really relevant to this, but she was really slow in pushing the stuff down the thing. So I was constantly leaning like over with my big old fucking Mr. Tickle arms to pull things down the ramp to put in a bag, right? And I'm just like, you're not making any of this easier for anyone. You're like nudging something. I'm having to. She wasn't particularly old or frail or anything like that, but it did annoy me that she was so slow. So this sounds perfect for me. Get them down, you know, like I want it like they're unloading a military helicopter, you know, like ow, you know, Like,
not everyone is happy with that sort of service, Alex, because the supermarket chain known for its speedy checkout service. One mum was left feeling rather upset by a disgracefully rude member at a store in North Yorkshire. As mum said, she was left in tears after a confrontation with the speed of the scanning. They were shopping with their 3 young children when she became embroiled in a tense discussion with the disgracefully rude staff member. She was left traumatized by his aggressive approach and the ferocious speed of the conveyor belts. While checking out, the loyal Aldi shopper says the worker refused to slow down his scanning, even as food fell from the allocated packing area onto the floor like a slot machine.
I just imagine him begging, please, slow down.
Stop! She's being like covered in packets of noodles.
The weight of my goods that I've purchased.
Stop! I will go
If you could be
faster.
killed, if you could be killed by being crushed by the weight of groceries you're buying too many groceries. I think that's the case. You know, like that's too many. That's perhaps how we could stop bulk buying. We could be like, you know, you can only buy the weight of your total weight of your family, and with an upper limit as well.
Really,
with an upper limit.
That's a lot. Like you're buying your body weight in food.
Like, you're like, well, what if I'm buying cereal? What if I'm buying a lot of liquid? You know, like
think how much cereal I can get.
That's a lot of fucking cereal.
Think how many marshmallows I could get.
Yeah. I've got a very large family, very heavy, very large family.
Fuck's sake, yeah, right. It's like that wouldn't work at all.
No, it wouldn't. But funny though, right?
The food, I keep buying my own weight in food and eating.
I just like medieval, simple ways to decide whether a person's buying too much food. You know, like could they be crushed by it? Yeah. If you got one of those boards that they used to crush people under,
the weights,
by putting rocks slowly, a slow crush. Right, if you're going to die from that, you're buying too many tinned goods. I think, you know. Like,
you're storing an underground bunker, are you? Well, I hope there's space for everyone in there because that's far too much food.
This 35-year-old as well.
This BMW coupe is full of Pepsi Max. What's this about? Whose boot is full of Pepsi Max? Do you think you could be crushed by the weight of Pepsi Max you've bought in the past, Ross?
I think one crate is 9 kilograms. Wow. So I imagine it's not going to take too many of those to crush you.
10 lots of that for like a 6-foot person, average male, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I mean,
thank you for that.
Thanks for that story. We hope that we gave you your money's worth there after doxing yourself live on stream.
35 though. I mean, it's only a couple of years away for us to be like panicking about our shopping piling high.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like there's other factors at play.
I mean, it was probably just an aggressive encounter, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's just an outrage piece, isn't it? Everyone loves an outrage piece.
Oh, they embellish the shit out of that as well with their like wording. Anyway, I had a side thought there, like going through supermarkets, particularly ones like B&M and ones like that, where they're like really high shelves of just endless products. Do you ever get this massive dystopic feeling of like you're living in the nightmare of the future?
Yeah. 100%. Got that in Tesco today. Yeah.
It also actually makes me just extremely aware of how much fucking plastic we use as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was only when you see it in scale, you're like, oh, fuck me. So if
that is replenished.
This one piece of plastic. Fucking, I saw shitloads of that back at the shop, and they're replenishing that all the time. So all of this shit is accumulating.
Since a kid,
tearing it down. It's just like, oh my god.
Since a kid, I've been amazed at like we only have to dig a hole in the ground every so often for everybody's waste. You know, like even if you go to a landfill, I'm surprised at how small they are, because I'm like, this is taking everybody's weekly non-recycled waste. And by the way, only like 10% of all plastics that get sent to recycling centers get recycled. So even when you fill your buckets with plastic and all that work you do, even then only 10%. So, you know, you might not, I don't know whether you're in the majority for recycling. I'm not sure. You know, I don't know whether I remember our parents never recycled back in the day because there weren't the recycling plants available to do it.
It wasn't easy to do.
Glass and tin was like the only one. Plastic wasn't even thought about. But yeah, no, I know, Matt, it is kind of crazy. But no, supermarkets. Just today I was like walking around Tesco, and obviously when you're walking around Tesco at like 11:30 on a Friday, you get a lot of like older people, you get a lot of the sick and infirm. So 100% true. I felt like I was about to have to fight my way out. I mean, the boner was already strapped up with the belt. I do that anyway. But like, But no, I mean, it does feel weird. But I mean, I think that's in part because we've spent so much fucking time indoors over the last 2 years. Going anywhere where there's lots of people feels weird for me now. I don't like it. I feel agoraphobic, if I'm honest with you.
It's just as far as the eye can see, shelves of products of like slightly different variations of the same thing, endlessly supplied. and all stuff that is like relatively trivial or absolutely not necessary at all. And then you go into like the next style, and it's like lines and lines of Christmas stuff of like these products which are like just manufactured at mass. And
but we are wound up tight though, Trott.
Man.
Like
Christmas stuff annoys me. I just feel like where was that one the other day? We went to pick up a couple of bits for a Halloween costume, and just so much Christmas shit was out, and people were just like, buying baubles and buying like. I'm like, fucking hell's October.
Yeah,
I hate this.
Yeah, I hate that
I've
too.
not already got like loads of Christmas shit already from the previous year. Why are you?
But is that not like
shit?
A sign
it's
of
so bad.
The ultimate, like there's something so wrong that people are clamoring for the next like distraction event.
Yeah, it's the next thing to look forward to. But it's just I feel like some of these things are built up so high and for so long. I just find it just.
Careful, guys. This might just turn into a really depressing podcast.
True.
Right. Okay.
We're going down that road because
we started with porn. That was great. It was a great start.
I will say,
porn. In which case, you'd probably clicked away.
Porn's too boring to
Porn's
too boring to get addicted to, I think. But like, at least the porn I've been watching, very boring.
You should see the stuff I watch.
Missionary stuff. We are wound up very tight. I will say that. Like, when you think like that, and I do think like that as well, Trott, we are, as individuals, the three of us especially, wound up pretty tight.
People get excited about fucking John Lewis adverts and shit now.
I know, but we used to. I don't know, maybe
for a really expensive shop.
But at the same time, you can appreciate like the craft at least. Like the people involved in making those things are smart and creative. Like that who's paying them and giving them the messaging. Yeah, but like as an entity in and of itself, I can appreciate like
they're getting worse.
People appreciate our trailers because it's like us making them, even though like we're doing it for someone else. Yeah. Like still, I think there's a level of appreciation.
I would say those John Lewis trailers are getting worse year by year. They started out really good. They had like an idea that like was really cutesy and stuff, and now it's just getting really like, okay, what's the next one? Oh, it's the same idea.
It's the arc of anything, though, right?
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
nothing stays great forever. Everything has an arc. Like, you're right. I'm sure they'll go away for a bit, and then there'll be an article about no John Lewis advert this year as company restructures for so and so. And then one day it'll come back, and they'll be like, oh, the John Lewis. Yeah, they used to do these all the time back in the day. People loved them.
I think that's
the same arc as YouTube Rewind,
right?
Yeah.
They're stopping X Factor for a couple of years, and like now, big X Factor's back. Oh my god, I have something to watch.
It's back.
It's got the X Factor again.
Because it's way better to have it through rose-tinted glasses. The same shit through rose-tinted glasses looks a little less shit, I suppose.
Why do you think reboots you could just exist? Yeah.
Turns out being maximum overwoke is really depressing.
Maximum overwoke. It's very depressing to not just like be a part of and be happy
the masses.
With it all.
To be annoyed at Christmas ads though. I don't know if that's just a. It's just a.
I don't go on TV enough to be annoyed by them.
No, what I mean by maximum overwoke now is
go click on the YouTube video for it. It's just like it's an ad. You go on top trending YouTube videos of the day. It's like several ads are just there, and it's just like they're all just the same shit. I just don't like Christmas, guys. There we go. I said it.
No, I didn't like Christmas either.
I like the principles of Christmas that are marred by the consumerism. I still enjoy like seeing family and having like a nice meal and catching up once a year, and the idea of like the spirit of it is nice.
Definitely.
But everything else that we're all subjected to every year is a bit much.
It's the fucking Christmas music.
Christmas trees up. It's like
I don't want. It feels like more than ever as well. Wow, this is a long podcast. More than ever, it's like you say, just becoming a salve to like not to satiate, but to salve. In terms of, like you say, just something else to distract you. And like you don't want to feel like that. You want to do something because it's the thing you want to do, not because it's the thing that everybody's doing, or because and you can have your own form of Christmas. You're absolutely right, but then you always feel like you're going to upset somebody like your nan or someone like that if you stop observing Christmas. It's a bit like when you've got a religious family and you choose not to be religious. I imagine like breaking from that, it creates a divide, and that's also the kind of feels like the burden of the overwoke in a way, and. Maximum overwoke is a great term that I heard from somebody,
Mark,
which describes, which I think is completely right, because it completely harms the leftist, and maybe I'm just too center left for other people's take, but there's a very liberal, progressive left problem with people being maximum overwoke, where they are trying out of a place of care and out of a place of not wanting to be malicious, but trying to almost be too conscious of everybody's considerations to a point where it is no longer constructive, and it is what people and why people further to the right criticize the left for being overwoke or overly conscious, because it's stupid.
It's the fringes of both sides.
It's the fringes of both sides, exactly. But what I mean by overwoke, which is something slightly different, is where you've tried to become this progressive person that considers people's feelings and considers other people in the world around them as best as possible. The problem is that in order to reach that point, I think you apply a thought process which tries to get to the true bottom of everything and the least damaging and harmful way to be that still fits in with the lifestyle you enjoy. So it gives you this horrible, unsolvable, complicated mindset of where you're like, well, yeah, this is bad because it's related to this and this and this. I could do that, but it also kind of is this and this. I could think this way, but then, and it basically gives you these tools where you challenge the status quo all the time, but you realize that you can no longer establish a status quo for yourself because you're always constantly challenging the current way of thinking.
Something's corrupt somewhere.
Exactly. So it makes you incredibly sad, and it's something that I battle with all the fucking time and doing it for years, just trying to work out the best way to be. But in trying to get there, you realize that you're just overwhelmed and anxious and not happy. And it's really hard to deal with that. I think the only things you can do really in the way that I try to deal with it is getting back to the basics of what as a little monkey man or woman or person makes you feel happy. And for me, that's things like exercise, outside, talking to people, and computer games, definitely, and masturbation sometimes when I can treat myself. But being around people, I think, is a basic, or interacting with people is a basic thing you need. I think that you need to be active in some regard to maintain your mental health, because even if you are happy, even if you are eating right, if you're not doing the thing that the human body was set up to do for a long portion of its life, aka exercise, you will become unhappy and depressed anyway. Chemically, I think you'll become
a cycle. It's I need to exercise, but I can't exercise.
Yeah, there's unhealthy relationships with exercise, definitely.
Points.
But there needs to be something there, and you need to take care of yourself a little bit. You need to have a little bit of bodily health in order for your mind to be capable of being happy.
This wraps
up. It's really hard though,
because we come full circle, Alex Smith. Because you were talking early on about how light enters the eye and it flips upside down. Our whole perception of how we experience life is through the filter of our entire body, and if that body is not healthy, our filtering of the existence around us is going to be an unhealthy one too, and we can't process it properly, and everything is going to have a dirty lens on it, so to speak. So
can't just put on those meta glasses and forget it's there.
No, you're still a sad person with some meta glasses on ultimately.
But it's really hard as well, and it is. You can still have down days, even if you're doing it all right. If you're doing your best, you still have shit days, and that's fine.
Yeah, don't be too hard on yourself.
But it is a big challenge.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's a big challenge to be happy. It really is hard, considering how much stuff we can apparently buy to make us have the best life. It is hard. I think that's going to be one of the challenges of our era, perhaps, especially for us, these people that were lucky enough to be born in the West and all this sort of shit. Christ, we've got the tippity top of everything. It's kind of crazy when you realize, how are we depressed? How are we unhappy? We've got the best of everything. Everything in the world is humanity.
That's what's like you say. We're losing touch with our monkey selves.
Paying too much attention to other people.
Social media, fuck me,
and
god
other
damn,
people's lives. And it's wow, I forgot to even sort my own life out.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyway, if you want to get more in touch with your monkey side, we can provide that for you in these wonderful weekly podcasts where we tickle your smooth brain. Thank you to all our patrons for supporting us and allowing us to keep doing this. Go to patreon.com/hatfilms. Every week, we set out 3 hypothetical questions that you guys vote on, which become our talking points of the episode. So we really appreciate everyone voting on that. You also get the ad-free version as well, which we know is not very much, but we're trying to provide what we can to you guys. Like a thank you for supporting us. And also we have an email if you want to send in some funny news or a fingal, much like John Woodburn. hatchat@hat-films.com. I said hyphen this week because dash sometimes confuses people. But hyphen's just like I know that symbol. It can only be that. So hatchat@hat-films.com if you want to send us anything.
And also, if you want to leave a review of this podcast, anyway, do that. I think that helps.
It really looks so shifty when you say that.
Just leave a review, please. Just a quick review or a star rating. Shifty eyes. Please.
I don't know. Can somebody leave a rating on our podcast?
I haven't found any reviews for it, and I'm just really curious as to where the fuck.
Where are the podcast reviews?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, with all that said and done, thank you for taking the effort to do any of those things. And if not, I hope you enjoy listening on your favorite podcast platform. And we'll see you next week for another weekly episode of Hat Chat. Take it away, Mr. Woodburn. John Woodburn. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.